Hello and welcome to the 100-hour week. I'm going to be attempting to play about 100 hours of poker over the next 7 days. This is going to include drive time as well as time waiting to sit down at the table once I do get to the card room. I'm not a complete degenerate. I can't function 4 hours of sleep. I can't make 14 hours of straight play at the poker table work. I'll die. So I'm going to hope to play around 80 to 85 hours of poker and get around between 95 to 100 hours of time outside of my door. This is going to hopefully win me about $2,500. Little bit on the high side, but I'm hoping to reach that quite easily. I won't really be able to table select, and I'm sure the games at 11 a.m. aren't going to be great, but we will see. I'm excited to get into this, and I will see you guys all in the next clip. Hey guys, this is day one of the 100-hour week. It is, I don't know if you can see that. You can't see that. Oh, there we go. 11:12 a.m. Gonna head over to the casino. Probably gonna play until, I guess that'll be 12:50 a.m. for the 14 hours. Drank quite a bit last night. Pretty hungover. Not a great start to the week, but we're gonna go over to Grand Villa, play really well, and run even better and book a huge win. So I'll see you guys in the next clip. Welcome to some hand histories. I'm not gonna be able to remember all the reads I made. These hands were played, 7, 8 days ago. So just bear with me. First hand, we have Jack 10 off in the small blind. 3 limped already. I over limp. I think this is okay. Big blind does one of those silly raises to $10, which everyone calls. Gets back to me. I don't know. It's calling 7 to win 40. Might as well. So we toss it in. Off to a flop of Queen 9 4 2 spades. Pretty good flop. Check it over. The big blind bets 15. Folds back to me, and I'm definitely going to put in the raise here. That small bet pre-flop is usually like a hand that looks pretty, but isn't really that strong. So I bump it up to 60, expecting to get quite a few calls here, or folds. Big blind does make the call, though, and button folds. So heads up to a beautiful turn. King. We make the nuts, just like that. Pot is about like 1.5 SPR, so you want to bet around 60-ish%, so I make it 110, and big blind makes the call. So hoping for a clean river, not really what we get. It's the deuce of spades, so the flush draw does get there. We do have the jack of spades, though, which is quite a relevant card. King jack of spades definitely in his range. Flop the gutter, flush draw. Ace jack of spades as well, that makes a lot of sense. So I'm not too worried about a flush here, so I do go ahead and jam all in for value, and we get snapped. Not really good sign. I show my hand, and he shows the king 10 of spades, so starting on the back foot. In this next hand, we are playing a more reasonable hand. The button straddle is on, small blind has completed. I bump up ace deuce of diamonds in the big blind to 25, and we go 3 ways to a flop out of position. So it's a pretty good flop, though. Ace 8-8, 1 diamonds. We do have top pair. The kicker's not going to be too relevant, as we're going to chop with a lot of other aces on most runouts. But I'm going to start off with a check here. I don't think there's any sense in betting. And button checks behind as well. So off to a turn, which is really nice. It's 4 diamonds, introducing a backdoor flush draw for us. Checks to me. I still don't see too much value in betting. We're only going to get 1 straight out of a hand like pocket nines anyways. So I check it to see if the button wants to bluff at this. Button does want to bet. Bet's pretty big, 55. Bit of a weird sizing here. It's really big on this 4 turn, which doesn't change much. So I'm thinking she might have a backdoor flush draw here, or just starting to bluff with some air. I don't really see this being an ace, and she wouldn't check back an 8 on the flop, I don't think. So I make the call off to a river, which is the deuce of clubs. It's an alright card. It's pretty unlikely she got a set of deuces. So I check it over, and now she bets, and pretty big. 125, getting in like that 70% pot range. It's pretty close. This is a 1-3 game where most players will not bluff, and any bet over $100 is almost always value. I don't know, the line just seems weird. It's a really big turn bet, really big river bet. Is she really doing this with like ace 10, ace jack? I don't know. It would be a good play if she did. Like, really good play, but I just don't see her doing that. It just seems off. So I toss in the call, thinking something's up, and we are in fact good. Nice. All right, on to the next hand. Button straddle is on, and it folds around to me in the hijack ace-4 of spades. I bump this up to 18, and only the straddler calls. This guy's a very loose opponent, has been very aggressive at the table. Very, very, very aggressive. Flop comes down pretty nice, though. King 5-3, so we got ourselves a gut shot and a backdoor flush draw, as well as it being a better board for us. I start with a small bet of 15, and immediately get check raised to 45. Not check raised, just raised in position. Last 4 hands I played with this person, he has raised the flop, so I assume that he's going to be well over bluffing here, like well over raising. So I'm gonna at least defend close to optimal, right? Ace-4 of spades, gut shot, overcard, backdoor flush draw. We're most likely good here is clear cut call. So I do go ahead and make the call. Off to a turn, which is pretty good. It's a 4 of clubs. So we do have some more outs now. We don't really beat anything new besides ace-3. So it's not that great, but I just think he's well overdoing his bluffs, and I don't really see him doing this with like gut shot, but maybe. So I check it over, and he goes ahead and bets again. Close to pot, $120. I'm just going to call down here. I just don't think he's got anything, right? So I make the call off to a river, which is a jack of clubs. I check it over, bets, but sizes down a bit to 200. I pretty much just snap call and get shown the bad news when he rolls over the king 6 offsuit. Oh, that one hurts. We just got completely outplayed there. Yeah, he literally won triple the maximum. Really well played by my opponent. That's insane for him to show up with there. Yeah, well played. All right, on to the next hand. The straddle is on. It folds all the way around to me on the button with 10-8 suited. This is a clear open. I go a little bit larger on the button, so I make it 20. Small blind immediately 3 bets to 55. Folds back to me. And this should be a fold with his stack size. Like, this is 50 big blinds effective. 10-8 suited in position is not great. We're going to a flop with, what is that going to be? Like 2.5 SPR? This is just a fold. But I've been getting 3-bet relentlessly today. Like, well over 50% of my opens getting 3-bet. I don't know what's going on. It seems like they always just have it, but I'm going to play a pot in position. So I do make the pretty loose, pretty optimistic call. And we get a pretty good flop. 8-7-7, 2 spades. He now bets 45. It's a pretty big bet for a board that's really bad for him, really good for me. But I don't think there's any sense in raising, so I'm just going to make the call. And off to a turn, which is the jack of spades. Now we got a gut shot. It's going to be tough for him to keep going to the overpairs on this turn, so he checks it, and I'm just going to check this one back. I could go for the bluff here all in, but I just don't see him folding an overpair on the turn, so I check it back. River is the deuce of hearts, and now my opponent goes all in. Like, we beat so little here. He's got flushes, he's got pocket pairs. I think it over for a bit. It just seems like a weird line to take, given that I can have quite a few full houses here. But then again, I can have quite a few full houses here, so why call with this hand? So I do go ahead and fold, and my opponent later tells me that he did turn the full house with pocket jacks, so pretty good fold, I guess. Eh. The straddle under the gun is on. Hijack has called. We've got pocket 10s on the button. You know what we're doing. Bumping up to 25. The straddler and the limper both call. The straddler, I believe, is the guy that raised us with king 6 off and pretty much stacked us with top pair no kicker. So pretty loose opponent. And we go to a beautiful flop of 7-4 deuce rainbow. Checks to me. I start off the small bet of 25 and they both call. So off to a turn is not great. 6 of hearts, introducing any 5s now an open-ender. Some straight draws got there like 3-5. 7-6 is 2 pairs, so is 4-6 suited. Just not a great card. So when it checks to me, I'm going to play some pot control and check it back. River is amazing. 10 of hearts. We river a set. Even better news, under the gun leads into us for 100. Hijack folds, and against this player, there's nothing to do but go all in, which I do. He thinks for quite a while, and tosses in the call. We show our hand, and it is good. My opponent, the person beside him later told me that he saw his hand, and he had queen 6 offsuit. So pretty optimistic call there. Looks like we're good the whole way, but yeah, we got him back. This next hand, we have a really nice hand. Ace 10 suited. Hijack has limped off a short stack. I bump it up to 15 when it folds to me. Big blind and the limper call. So we're 3 ways to a beautiful flop. 10, 6, 4, 2 clubs. What more could you ask for? I start with a very small bet of 15. Big blind gets out the way, but hijack does make the call. So off to a turn, which is all right. It's a 5 of spades. Not too concerning. Like, could have some 6-5 or some gut shots, but I'm going to keep betting. And it doesn't have to be big, as I'm just targeting like weaker 10s, some pocket pairs like 9s and 8s. And my opponent does make the call. So off to a river, looking for a clean one. It is the deuce of spades. I don't think he has too many 3s or backdoor flushes, so I go ahead and bet for value and get snap called. I show my hand, and he shows ace king suited. That's not fair. I had the flush draw first. This opponent comes up quite a bit. He also started 3-betting me like relentlessly after this hand. Just tons and tons and tons of 3-bets. Which is a little surprising he would limp call ace-king suited and then have so many 3-bets after this. But, I don't know. Weird way to play that hand from someone who does have a raise range. Okay, I believe this is the very next hand, and it's against the exact same opponent as last time. He has now limped the low jack. I bump it up to 15 on the button with ace deuce of diamonds, fold back to him, and he makes the call. So heads up to a flop of ace 5 deuce 2 clubs. Beautiful. Checks to me, small bet, 10 bucks. He calls off to a turn, which is even nicer. Another 2. He checks it over once again, and I want to get stacks in. We're looking about, what is that, like 6 SPR, which I think is like 130% pot on both streets. Is that 6 SPR? 7? 6? I don't know. But I definitely need 2 overbets to get it in, so I start off with a $60 bet. I think it should be a bit bigger, but he makes the call. So off to a river, which is the queen of hearts. Doesn't change much. He checks it over to me, and I'm going to go for some value. I go all in. Thanks for quite a while before deciding on a fold, so we're not going to get him back. A few hands later, we have pocket 6s under the gun. I raise it up to 12, and we go 5 ways to a flop. Looking for a 6. Sorry, we're 6 ways to a flop. Looking for a 6, and it comes. 6, 4, 3, rainbow. Beautiful flop, 6-handed. Checks to me. I start with a small bet of 25, and only the middle position player makes the call. So off to a turn, which is the 8 of clubs. Doesn't change too much. No new straights, so I size up here. I want to get it all in. Looks like I need about $100 here. I bet 90, which is a bit small. Middle position makes the call. So off to a river, which is the 8 of diamonds. Pretty good. Got about pot size behind, so I go ahead and shove it all in. And my opponent calls. Nice, we table our hand, and it is good. Love sets. Alright, in this next hand, we are going to get a little bit out of line. Under the gun has raised to 15 off a $150-ish stack. Cut off his 3-bet to 50, and I'm in the small blind with ace queen of spades, and I throw in the cold 4-bet. Under the gun decides this is his time, and jams all in, and cut off things for a while before making the call. I also make the call, and we're off to a flop of ace 10, 9, 2 hearts. Cutoff is not going to have pretty much any heart combinations here besides maybe king, queen of hearts. And he's most likely going to bet that into a dry side pot. I don't know why, but I just feel like he will. So I'm only worried about pocket 10s here and the occasional ace king. Everything else is like pretty much drawing dead. Like kings, queens, jacks, they're all pretty much dead against me. So I'm not too worried about denying any equity. So I check it over and cutoff checks behind. Off to a turn, which is the 8 of clubs. Now he's going to pick up a few more outs with hands like jacks and queens, so I do want to start charging him for those. I bet pretty small, 110. Cutoff decides to jam it all in, which is a little bit gross, considering there is a dry side pot here. But I can't fold for this price after turning a gutter, so I do call. River is another 8. I show, and my opponent shows pocket jacks. I don't know. I think you should just call that on the turn. It doesn't really make much sense in jamming there, but yeah, we beat everyone. Nice pot going our way. This is the final hand of day 1. Middle position has raised to 20 over a limp. This is just his standard size, and I re-raise ace king suited in the cutoff to 60. Folds back to him, and he makes the call. This is a very competent player. Definitely has some tricks up his sleeves, definitely thinking. But we go to a flop of ace 5 deuce rainbow with one club. Checks to me, it looks like a good board, so I do bet 1/3. I think this is a small mistake, and my bet should be around 50%, as this board isn't that great for me. I don't have pocket fives, pocket deuces, and he does. Doesn't really matter though, but he check calls, and we get a pretty good turn. It's a 6 of clubs, so we do pick up the backdoor flush draw. He checks it over, and I'm going to size up here a little bit, but don't want to go too big. We want to keep his ace, queen, ace, jack, ace, 10 hands in, so I bet 125. Around 60%, and he makes the call. So off to a river, looking for a blank. Not really what we get with a 4 of spades. So now we're losing to quite a few aces, so he checks it over to me. Now we lose to ace 5, ace deuce, ace 6, ace 4, ace 3, 5, 6 suited, any 3. I do go ahead and decide on a thin value bet here of 275, and looking back, I actually hate this. Like, we're just trying to get called by ace queen. I think even ace jack probably makes the fold here. So one hand that could possibly pay us. You could think that we're bluffing a bit with a backdoor flush draw. But I don't know. I think this is too thin, and I think that there are more hands that he has that beat us than hands that we beat that do call. So I really don't like this bet. However, he does end up calling, and we do end up winning. But I still don't like the bet, even though the result did turn out well. It's just too thin. I think it's just way too thin, especially against him. And he still has 500 behind. And I'm pretty sure that this guy can turn ace 7 into a bluff and check raise me all in on the river. Like, I have no doubt in my mind he's capable of doing that. So I really, really, really don't like the bet. It did work out this time, though, and we do clear $1,000 pot on day 1. That's going to be day 1 wrapped up. It's a really long session. We started at 11:12 is when I left home. Right now it is, I don't know if you can see that, like 1:40. So a little over 14 hours done today, about 12 and a half hours of actual poker played. My brain is so mushy right now. I was pretty card dead for the last 3 hours, and I actually really enjoyed it. Could just sit there, relax, didn't have to think too much. Didn't start the session off too well. I actually lost the first 15 hands I played, which is not a good strategy. Would not recommend that. So I was in for 1,200 pretty quickly, but I actually managed to book a pretty sizable win. I'm not going to spoil it. I will leave that for the end of the video, but yeah, today was really quite annoying. I actually got 3-bet well over 50% of my opens. I'm not kidding. Easily over 50% of hands I opened, I got 3-bet and I folded probably 90% of them. They're just sort of like loose opens, like king, queen off, or 5-7 suited. And then the 3-bet sizes were also ridiculous. Like open to 15, out of position 3-bet to 80, and with like 150 behind. Like, just couldn't do anything. Yeah, it's pretty rough getting 3-bet that often. One of them, we opened 7s on the button to 15, small blind called. Big blind 3-bet us to 65 and only had about 120 behind. I folded, small blind called, and the flop came down queen 7-7. Would have flopped quads, but that is all right. I am going to eat some food. I got some A&W here. Also, fast food prices outrageous now. $20 for a burger, some fries, and a drink. What? That's it for day 1. I'm going to get some rest and get ready for day 2. We're going to head back to Villa again. I'll see you guys all tomorrow. It's day 2, heading back to Villa. It is just before 11. Making good time today. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't tired, but I got my purse, ready to go to war. I'll see you guys in the next clip. Welcome to day 2. We have King Jack offsuit in the small blind facing everyone's limped. So I bump it up to 25 to try to ISO and steal some of the dead money. My plan goes horribly wrong when 4 of them call, or 3 of them call, so 4 ways to a flop. But my plan goes better because it's a Jack-Jack-10 rainbow flop. I'm going to start with a check here and play a little bit deceptive. Under the gun checks, and then under the gun +2 bets 60. Pretty big bet for a Jack-Jack-10 rainbow board into 4 players. But I've got King Jack, I'm not complaining. I make the call, and so does the short stack. Off to a turn, which is a 6 of clubs. I check it over, and now the short stack goes all in for 52. I don't know, no one's ever folding for this, so under the gun player calls. And now with the pot being so big, I don't think that we can just call and then try and get the under the gun +2 player to bluff or value bet worse on the river. And I don't like leading the river, so I'm just going to go ahead and jam it all in, charge his draws, put him in a tough spot with a 10. And so I do it all in. He doesn't think for too long and folds. And we are off. The 5 of diamonds on the river. It's a pretty safe card. I show. He shows a 9-8 of clubs for the turned flush draw open ender. So good hold there to start the session. Okay, in this next hand, there's an under the gun limp. Hijack is raised to 13. Cutoff is called. I'm on the button 5-4 of spades. I think this is fine to overcall. Play in position. And then the under the gun player limp re-raises. Hate this. To 50. So I went from already going to fold my hand to this sizing. I don't think I'm going to fold. Hijack folds. Cutoff does make the call. Getting this amazing price with suited connector in position, I, of course, make the call as well. And off to a pretty decent flop of king 5-7. So we got backdoor straight, backdoor flush draw with bottom pair. And the limp re-raiser actually checks here. So cutoff also checks, and I'm just going to check behind. I don't want to bet here. Turn is the 3 of diamonds. We do pick up a gut shot. Checks to me again. I think betting's okay, but I don't know. I think it's just too weak, so I check it back. River is the deuce of hearts. Doesn't change much. Another limp re-raiser bets 100. Cutoff folds quickly, and now it's back on me. Like, what are you really representing here? Besides maybe pocket queens that tried to check raise twice. Yeah, I just don't believe it. So I toss in the call, and he goes, I can't believe you called with that. So I guess we're good. I show, and it is, in fact, good. In this next hand, we have pocket 2s facing 2 limps. I bump it up to 18 and go pretty multi-way, which is always okay with a small pocket pair. So we're 5 ways to a flop of 10-6 deuce 2 diamonds. Amazing. Checks to me. I start the small bet of 30. And then the short stack and the cutoff just jams his entire stack in. A little bit unfortunate. We're not going to get anyone else's money in this pot, but happy to go heads up on a pretty draw heavy board. I make the call. Turn is the jack of hearts. River is the queen of hearts. I show, and it is good. All right, we have king 9 of spades in early position, or clubs rather. I raise up to 12. Player to my left re-raised to 27. Folds back to me. This seems really weak. It just seems like he wants to play in position, get everyone else out. I don't think this is a very strong hand. So I go ahead and put in the 4-bet bluff, which is okay to do with hands like this from time to time. And I make it 75. He thinks for a bit and then makes the call. Off to a flop of ace, ace 3, 2 clubs. Beautiful flop. I'm going to start with a small bet here of 50. Now my opponent thinks for a bit and then makes the call. So off to a turn, which is the queen of hearts. I'm not feeling too good about my hand now, as I think he would have folded a lot of his pairs here. You know, kings, queens, jacks aren't in a great spot after the flop, so I think he's mostly weighted towards ace X. I'm probably just going to check call and see if I can hit a flush on the river. So I check it over, and he snap bets 190. Nothing to do here. I guess we just got to let this one go. Chalk up the $125 loss, because yeah, he's probably just got an ace here that we're priced out. So I do make the fold. He shows pocket queens, so he turned the bow and just went nuts. Bit unfortunate, as our bluff probably would have worked on any other turn card. Really glad that wasn't the queen of clubs, though, as that would have cost us a lot more. So run bad, run good. It's all right. In this next hand, we have pocket 4s in the big blind facing 4 limps. I bump this up to $25. We do get 2 callers from early position, so 3 ways to a flop of king 10, 9, 2 diamonds. This board is going to hit everyone quite a bit, but I'm probably going to have the big advantage here. So I do start with a small bet of 25, turning my 4s into a bluff here. Under the gun gets out the way, and then low jack does make the call. So planning to probably give up here, but we get to the turn, which is a 5 spades. Pretty much a blank, and I just think, you know, what strong hands can he really have here? Like, his best hand is probably like king queen, which just doesn't like to call down, right, at low stakes. So I decide to use this hand as a bluff, so I go ahead and bet 90, and my opponent makes the call. Off to a river, which is the deuce of hearts, and not loving it. We're definitely not winning, but like, what strong hands can he really have here? He would raise by now if he had two pairs or sets. He's capped at one pair, and I'm going to put him into a difficult decision with an all-in here. So yeah, I go ahead and jam 350, a little bit of an over bet, and he's in the tank for quite a while. Thinking it over, thinking it over. He seems to think I have aces, and eventually decides on a fold. Get that one through. Really scary to get that one through. All right, we have a real pocket pair this time. Facing two limps, I bump it up to 18 in middle position with pocket kings. Low jack calls as well as the button. So we are 3 ways to a flop, which comes out all right. It's jack 10, deuce, rainbow. So kind of loose to jack 10 here, but that's really it. Pocket jacks, pocket 10s, pocket deuces, obviously. I start with a small bet of 20. Low jack calls, and so does the button. So 3 ways to a turn, which is not great. It's the 8 of spades, introducing a flush draw, and quite a few 2 pairs. Some straights get there. Not a great card, so I do go ahead and check. Low jack bets 55, button calls, and I make the call as well. Off to a river, which is pretty much the best one in the deck. It's an offsuit deuce, so any 2 pairs now counterfeit to my overpair. I check it again, and low jack bets 100. Button folds, and now it's back on me. We're never folding this hand. The question is, do I jam for value or just call? He could probably have a deuce here, as a deuce of spades is not accounted for. But that's a pretty small portion of the range. Like, he's going to have king deuce of spades and ace deuce of spades. So I don't think those are too likely. But all of his 2 pairs are counterfeit. So I lose to a couple deuces and pocket 8s here. But I think any set would be raising on the flop or turn, or betting way bigger on the turn. So I think he's capped at maybe, jack 8, 10 8, jack 10, or some sort of jack. So I do go ahead and jam all in for value. Looks like he was bluffing, though, and folds right away. But pretty good pot with pocket kings. In this next hand, we have an under the gun limp to 3. Low jack, a pretty aggressive player with a very wide range pre-flop, makes it 15. I have a clear 3-bet here to 50 with pocket queens. Folds back around to the under the gun player, who king limp re-raises to 100. Pretty much a min limp re-raise. Folds to me. This player didn't start with a full $400 stack, so... And I've been getting 3-bet relentlessly today. Like, again, well over 50% of hands, I'm just getting 3-bet relentlessly. I think it's so easy to talk myself into a call here. Putting in 50 to win 218, and he's got 250 behind, but this man has aces, and that is it. Every single time he's going to have aces, and I think it's really easy to like delude yourself into a call here. Go, oh, he might have ace king sometimes, or this might be pocket jacks. No, this is aces every fucking time. So I make a very disciplined laydown, and I just fold the queens. As he's folding, I do see one of his undercards, and it was the ace of spades, so I'm pretty sure he had aces, and I'm just gonna give up here. All right, we got pocket queens again. Redemption queens. Middle position, limp for 3. I bump it up to 15. We get a call from the button as well as the big blind and the original limper. So 4 ways to a flop of 4-3 deuce, 2 clubs. Checks to me. I definitely want to thin the field here, so I go ahead and bet 20. We do get 2 callers from the big blind and middle position. Off to a turn, which is another deuce. Bringing in the flush draw. Really bad card. Big blind checks. Middle position now leads for $30. Nothing to do here but call and hope for a deuce or queen on the river, really. And then big blind also makes a call. So I'm pretty much done with the hand at this point. We get to a river, which is 7 of hearts. Big blind checks. Middle position goes all in, and gotta let this one go, unfortunately. 5 fold, big blind folds, and middle position did have the ace deuce off for the turned trips. Oh, damn queens, man. Okay, I have pocket jacks under the gun. I bump it up to $15. Folds all the way around to the button who calls, and then the small blind makes it 50. Folds back to me. This is the same player that limply raised, and I folded the pocket queens to his aces. Assumed aces is aces. Um, he has 3-bet me relentlessly now. This is like his 4th 3-bet. It's a really small sizing. I can definitely set mine here, so I do go ahead and call 35, and button also calls. Off to a flop of 6-5 deuce rainbow, and he just immediately bets 100. I don't know, something about this bet. He just seemed uncomfortable making it. It should probably just be a fold. Like, this is probably just queens plus every time. I don't know, just something felt off when he did it. So I do go ahead and make the call, and button folds. So off to a turn, which is the 4 of clubs. He checks it over. Just not looking to get trapped here, really. And I don't think he's going to fold queens plus. And that's what I'm thinking he has now. I don't know. Something feels weird in this hand. So I check it back. River is the 3 of spades. So now everything is a chop. He checks it once again. The thing is, I'm the only person that can have a 7 in this spot. It makes sense to go for it. So I do go ahead and jam all in. And he goes in the tank for quite a while before deciding on a call. Unfortunately, we are going to chop this one up, but he did have the pocket queens. Yeah, god damn it. Really bad play on my part. All right, this is the final hand of day 2. Folds around to the button, so it's looking like we're going to chop, but then the button limps. $3, so no more chopping. Small blind hates this, which is pretty annoying when the button open limps. The small blind raises to 20 because the button is just going to fold, but I've actually got a real hand, and I know small blind is doing this light, so I do make the call, and button gets out the way. So heads up to a flop of 8-9-3, all hearts. We have an open-ended straight flush draw, and we flop pretty much the nuts. He starts with a bet of 20. I'm just going to lay the trap here and call. And we see a bittersweet turn, the queen of hearts. So we make our straight flush on the turn, but it's probably going to shut him down with a lot of his hands that aren't, ace or king of hearts. So he checks it. I'm just going to check this one back. Get to a river, which is the ace of spades. He checks it again, and I'm just going to go for some tiny value, as it doesn't look like he has a flush here. I bet 20, thinks it over for quite a while, and makes the call. I think he had ace-9 off here, so he did river the 2 pair for that price. He just couldn't fold, but that's a straight flush. Hey guys, day 2 is in the bag. It is now 12:41. It's about 12 and a half hours of poker. I'll stop the timer when I get back home, but it should be roughly around another 14-hour day. Session started off pretty good. Actually, no, it didn't. One of the first hands I played, 2-5 reg, bet raised to 15. I 3-bet jacks to 45. Player to my left jams for 99. Folds back around to me. Of course, I call. He has aces, and he holds. Put my 100 out there, and before the dealer even has a chance to give me my $1 change, he's already halfway to the cage to cash out his win. He waited for like 2 hours for that table, played about, I think we're like 5 or 6 hands in, so I don't know, I just found that funny. But started off pretty good, built the stack up to like 1100. It was feeling pretty good, and then just quite flop dead. We went from 1100 all the way down to 385, and I don't think I lost more than like $50 a hand. It was just raise, get 3-bet fold, raise, go 5 ways to a flop, get donked into, and then fold. Just, yeah, not making anything. And then pretty card alive for that bit though, which was nice. And then to counter that at the end, I only played like 6 hands in the last like 4 or 5 hours until the last 2 orbits, which I played 4 hands, hit 2 sets, lost with both of them. One was a 4 to a flush board, and I just don't think it was bluffing. It was a 3-bet pot as well. And the other one, I flopped 6s on queen 9-6 rainbow, and it ran out 7-8. So flush gets there, and it's a 4-liner to a straight, and the lady had queen 10, so paid that one off. It was cheap. But even though I booked a small win, it was less than a buy-in. Booked a small loss, but a little bit less than a buy-in. I still think I played extremely well today. Made some very good hero folds. Almost all of them were correct. I think all of them were correct. Let's fold queens pre-flop to a min raise. That's so gross.
And yeah, all my hero calls also worked out. My bluff spots, I picked them really well. I'm very, very, very happy with how I played. So yeah, just ran into some rough variance today. Couldn't turn it around, but I can't be that upset. I'm really happy with the way I played, especially such a long session and one where you're just not getting anything. It's easy to get frustrated, easy to just donk off, easy to make light calls, but I'm really happy I kept my composure. And I am ready to go battle tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday night. We're going to head to Park Casino downtown, and we're going to play some more 1-3. I might go a little bit later, get some extra rest. I am pretty tired, and maybe play a little bit later because it is the weekend. I think maybe a 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. would be better, but I will find out tomorrow, and I'll see you guys in the next clip.